July 11th to 16th, 2004, hundreds of AIDS activists, traditional healers, people living with and affected by HIV/AIDS, donors, partners, community workers, commercial sex workers, biomedics, artists and performers gathered at the Global Village in Bangkok, Thailand for the 15th International AIDS Conference.
You have made a promise to us, made a promise to me, and you have assured us access to life. What you have personally promised me is that I'm going to grow old and I'm going to see my children. If 3 by 5 doesn't work, then it means that my home as a woman living with HIV in Africa, it has been completely dashed.
Thank you for your voices. The Global Fund exists because of your voices, because of your activism, because of the work of communities living with HIV, because of NGOs, because of civil society, because of the faith-based organizations that are here. We've made a lot of progress in a short period of time. In some countries things are moving. In some countries there is hope and treatment is scaling up. But in some countries progress is much slower and we need your help to accelerate. We need to do more and we need to do it faster.
The Africa-Asia interaction was a culmination of 6 months behind-the-scenes work by Africa Health and Development International and the Raxtai Foundation with the support of Rockefeller Foundation to mobilize over 15 organizations and artists working in AIDS across East Africa to travel to Bangkok to share experiences with their counterparts from Asia and the greater Mekong region. They also hoped to learn how the two regions are dealing with prevention, treatment and support for those living with the virus.
This forum is very important because Asia and Africa have a lot of similarities with regard to the epidemic. The two continents have been the worst hit in the history of HIV and AIDS, and I believe we can learn a lot from one another. And again, the community kind of forums are very good because the people with HIV and AIDS live in the communities.
For 4 days, this multicultural, multi-talented group deliberated on ways to manage the epidemic amidst dwindling resources.
I think it's important for Asia to take African experience seriously and not to condescend to Africa and not to dismiss Africa.
Positive people opened their hearts to each other as well as caregivers. They shared their frustrations, their joys, their challenges and successes in the fight against the scourge.
I've been taking ARVs, I'm vomiting blood, I want to stop, how can I? So to me, I was so confused that I said, I don't have money to eat, you are telling me, cancelling me, so what do I do? So I decided that is why I resorted to using herbal medicine for my treatment.
Prasert Dechabon captured people's emotions with a song to his mother. Innovations like this in the form of music and culture transcend age, gender and cultural barriers to deliver the message in the most informative and entertaining way.
I have seen how we are using creativity and commitment to push back against HIV/AIDS in our towns and villages. In Africa and Asia, these two regions which are the hardest hit by this epidemic, communities are inventing solutions appropriate for our setting. To be sure we have made progress, And with progress comes the lesson about how the epidemic has transformed our homes and communities, and how we have transformed ourselves to respond.
In Thailand, the government and the communities have taken a lot of action to ensure that commercial sex workers are integrated in the HIV/AIDS campaign. Commercial sex work in Thailand is big time, and it seems as if they are part and parcel of the economic generation in this country. There are a lot of stands in which commercial sex workers do show how they deal with their customers by a demystification of the condom. They are saying that they do wrap condoms in towels to ensure that it's part of the sex act.
At the Global Village, people interacted freely. The invited, the guests, scientists and herbal medicine practitioners, they all told their stories in their own language, their own style, their own format, their emotions.
I think it's very important to listen to people's stories when we're trying to do health work, because after all, that's what it's about. It's about how the world affects our bodies, how our communities shape our lives, whether we are strong or not, whether we are schooled or not. All of those decisions are made in a way that they affect the individual. And the way that you get to the truth of the individual is to actually listen to people tell us their experiences.
They shared stories not of despair and desperation, but of hope and determination. Everyone was a learner and a teacher here.
I will briefly discuss the factors that have made me live up until now. One of them is hard work and determination, and a desire to live longer.
Unfortunately, I think we operate in two very different worlds. The traditional medicine, alternative, complementary medicine world, and then the allopathic world that is very pharmaceutical based. And let's get real, the allopathic world controls the resources for the most part.
During her 12 years, she never used ARV. And she said that she will try to use only the herbal medicines.
Both Africa and Asia have rich traditions and cultures, traditions which from ancient times used herbs, family setups, spirituality and nutrition to manage even the most intricate diseases. Great strides have been made using these deep-rooted traditions and cultures.
This is the first time I see an international conference of this nature with practicalities. And then to address the issue of the value of desperation. It is through desperate situations where we are promised no cure that values are coming up and demonstrating the compatibility and the complementarity of various therapies, traditional, modern, and other forms narrated there they complement each other in a system, and they are compatible. And that's a lesson to many of the fears in Western science.
What we've learned from Africa is that the most painful reality is what is happening to women.
The most endangered group are the young, poor, married women. So we tend to think about the single women who are not married, but yet we know that in the African continent and elsewhere, many of the women who are getting infection within marriage. And these are young, they are poor, therefore they can't negotiate, and they are vulnerable.
They have other things, social problem. The kid is not in school. A relative doesn't care that you are working in town and you don't have any income. They want to come that you help them. your child has been sent away just because of a pencil from school. Maybe your child is also sick with HIV/AIDS. And then they're not addressing children issue. So you are trying to just take one client in a family where could be 4 people are HIV positive.
One way in which we can support them to become self-reliant and remove the dependency of clients on service providers is by giving them some small loans. That is a microfinance facility to establish a revolving fund whereby the family members, people living with HIV/AIDS, and orphans who are heading households can borrow money and start an income generation.
The battle against HIV/AIDS is for everyone. Communities are working to bridge the gender and economic gap, especially among women.
We are often forgotten, but we are the traditional carers and teachers. We take care of our grandchildren when their parents have died. We have sexual life. We need knowledge to help us play our role in responding to AIDS. We need resource and support to enable us to care for others. And we need to be supported as well.
We want to choose whether and when. We want to have sex and whether and when to have children. As women and women living with HIV and AIDS, we must fully participate in decision-making process at all levels related to our sexual reproductive rights, our life, our decision.
I know doctors are worried when they have to give medicine to children. All I need is an explanation that I can understand why I need this and how to take.
These communities demand action. If we are to win the battle, everyone affected and infected must join hands to fight stigma and discrimination. Accepting HIV-positive people in families and communities is the key to their well-being and that of the society.
We do need more human rights, more human security, more gender, and most important of all, more spiritual approach. We need more love, patience, and compassion from all concerned.
These great cultural innovations serve as evidence that indeed homegrown solutions will save the 2 continents from the ravages of the AIDS scourge. For us to succeed, we must tap on this indigenous knowledge.
Seems as if it's quite clear now that the family is where to organize for prevention, it's where to organize for care, it's where to organize for treatment, and it's where to organize for social support. That we need to do a lot of work around the family and around kinship.
Only when societies recognize that educating girls is not an option but a necessity will girls and young women be able to build the knowledge and the self-confidence and the independence they need to protect themselves from HIV/AIDS.
To fight until the end.